Hi guys, so this is basically our final week. So what we're going to be doing this week is summarizing everything and trying to put it all together so that you can end up being the best trainer possible out of this 12 weeks and really take some stuff home with you. So we talked yesterday about meal planning for a client. Now meal planning is a massive topic. I would say at the end of the day, it's not essential to write a client a meal plan. If their goal is fat loss and they understand macronutrients and micronutrients and they understand what's essential to be getting into their diet, then it's not essential to write your client a meal plan. In terms of qualifications and what you need to write a meal plan, it's only actually dietitians that can give out meal guidelines. So what I'd say to you is, like what we gave up before, is write maybe a meal template up and give the client some ideas of what they can put into their meal plan. Then give them some lists of foods. That's the best way to do it. So lists of good protein sources, carbs and fat sources. Show them the rough intake, show them how to use MyFitnessPal, and then get them to work forward from there. If there's someone that really struggles and say doesn't have time to pop it into MyFitnessPal, or doesn't, is really slack and you're just trying to get them to eat a little bit better and they eat a pretty terrible diet already, then maybe write them up a typical day and then see if they can replicate it, or at least use that kind of outline and maybe switch up their meat sources, their vegetable sources, so they're getting a broader range of micronutrients. So I guess that's the big debate between IFYM and a meal plan. I personally, and same with the boys, we like to believe in a little bit of balance and a little bit of both. I think it's important that when a client's learning, it's good to show them a meal plan, how to eat regularly, how to get protein at every meal, how to balance out their macronutrients. If they have just, say, macros to hit for the day and no guidelines to go along with that, then the macronutrients per meal, the balance can be out, which can throw off the energy and hunger levels. They might not be hitting their fiber targets, micro minerals. They might not be having enough fruit and vegetables to hit, their antioxidants, keep their immune system healthy. So there's a lot of pros and cons. So that was basically back on day one. I would say the biggest one in terms of a con for a meal plan is that it doesn't allow flexibility. Clients don't learn how to actually make changes if they need to, how to interact with social situations. So I would say try to get your clients to begin with a meal plan template. Explain to them that it's a template. It's not to be used all the time, but it's a good kickstart to get them going until they learn how to choose foods, how to track their macros, and then get them more into that way of thinking. But I would say there's really no need for a client to cut out a meal group or a certain food unless they have an absolute intolerance or allergy to it. Try to get them to get variety in their diet, which will actually build up and reduce the chance of them becoming intolerant to something. Generally, if you don't have something for a long time in your diet, that's when intolerances occur. So I would say get them to try to keep it as variable as they can with their diets. It's okay to eat the same things for a couple of days in a row if it's easier for them to prep, and then just try to get them to switch it up a few days after that. So in terms of meal planning for your clients, I would say that the best times also where maybe a meal plan can be essential is if someone has a illness or a disease, or say a lack of iron in their diet or fiber, or some kind of micronutrient you're actually trying to get into their diet. So I'd say then is a good idea to write up a client a meal plan, or again if they've got hormonal issues. So say for a female client, if they weren't getting their period and their estrogen's really low and their body fat's really low, I would say writing them up a meal plan where they're having a couple of serves of saturated fats a day into their diet, such as coconut oil, butter, cream, anything like that, could be something that you may have to actually put into a meal plan. Or you can simply say to your client, if you have 50 grams of carbs for the whole day, I'd like you to get at least 30 of these grams from a saturated fat source and spread out evenly across the day. So you can always write notes along with it. It doesn't have to be a rigid meal plan. Definitely give them flexibility. And then on that as well, meal plans help with nutrient timing. So even if you're going to give out macros to a client, say telling a client I want you to eat 140 protein, 200 carbs and 50 of fats, I would still then, allow for training time. So still saying to them, checking in with your client what time your training is, in the morning or the evening, and then figuring out rough carb intakes around that. If it's a beginner client, I wouldn't go too fancy with meal timing. I just try to get them, eating regularly, and then just spread out their nutrients pretty consistently throughout the day. So again, it's all case dependent, which is probably the thing that I hope that you all learn over the last 12 weeks. Every single time you approach a situation with a client, it's going to be different. So if you have a client that comes to you, say for example, and their standard diet is cereal in the morning, a McDonald's burger for lunch, a chocolate bar in the afternoon, and then they come home to a massive homemade lasagna with full fat everything. Now, you're not going to then straight away stick that client on a, nutrient time, getting them to track their macros, making them have 5 or 6 meals a day. You want to start with the basics. So try to just keep it simple for them to start. So it might be as simple as, especially if they're very resistant to change. So say their breakfast, instead of their high GI cereal, you might try to get them to have oats or a lower GI product such as Wheat Bix, something like that, and then adding some protein to the meal, maybe reducing the amount of the cereal product they were having. So then to get some protein in, to reduce the carbohydrate intake in the morning. Then say we might try to get them to add in a little snack mid-morning. Then we would obviously switch up that lunch, get rid of the Macca's burger. If they tell you that the only thing they can do at the moment is takeaway, that's fine. Give them a couple of options. So say, go to Nando's and get a wrap without cheese, without this and that, or maybe a sushi place, or a healthier burger option such as grilled, that sort of thing. Then in the afternoon, they're grabbing that chocolate bar, so let's try to get them to even chuck a Quest bar in there, something else with a little bit more nutritional value, even a piece of fruit and a protein shake if they can, manage that. That's too hard for them, so they have an active job, Quest bar, homemade protein balls, but again, they said they didn't have time to prep. So keep it simple, even yogurt. Then for dinner, just trying to get them to get onto something a little bit more simple. If they really enjoy that pasta, again, I just switch it up for a smaller portion of pasta, a larger portion of the mince or the meat, get them to choose a leaner cut of beef mince, and then do a tomato-based sauce. Maybe try a pasta that way rather than a lasagna, which is heavy on your creams and cheese, and just get them to add a small amount of cheese at the end on top of their pasta. So again, it's not about making drastic changes immediately, it's about making progression with a client, especially if they're resistant to change, which you learned about last week with the stages of change model. Sorry, whereas if they come to you and they say, look, this is the diet I've been eating, I don't even enjoy it, I just eat it because I have no idea what to do, I want you to tell me what will give me the best results possible, and I'm ready to make those changes, I have time to meal prep, I'm ready to rock, then by all means start them out on a much more structured plan. Then after a week, reassess. If they're struggling with it, tone it back. If they're doing really well, then keep pushing forward. So it's all about where the client's at and assessing that, because you need to understand where your client is to be able to determine whether they're going to get results from that. So if they, like I said, if they're not ready to make big changes just yet and they're still kind of learning the process and getting themselves into the gym, into training, you don't want to push it too hard because that's when you're going to lose them. And the key is client retention. That's what makes a good trainer. So you want to be able to retain your clients by giving them positive feedback but also challenging them at the same time. They're probably the two big things that I've learned the most as being a trainer. You don't want to be too easy on your clients, but you don't also want to be too hard. So you want to give them that, positive, negative sandwich. You want to give them a positive, put a little bit of not a negative, but, something that they can work on in between there, and then give them some more positive feedback to finish. You want to always finish on a good note with a client, especially when you finish a training session. So when you finished up with a client, rather than saying, oh, you didn't push it hard enough today, I want you to work 10 times harder for me next week. Say, look, I feel like maybe we can push it a little bit more next week. Let's add another 5 or 10 kilos to that squat and get another couple of reps out. I want you to try it during the week for me and feed back to me. But you did really well on your range of motion with your squats and you're really improving with your activation. So see what I did there is I gave them something to work on, something a little bit negative about the session, but then I also told them something positive that they've been improving on. So they know they're improving, they know they can then do better on something else. So it's all about that positive, negative sandwich for your clients, and that's the same with their nutrition. So say if they come to you and they've only been 70% compliant with their food, they've been overeating still on their calories, they haven't been tracking it consistently. So that's cool, it's not fantastic, 70%, we can probably do better, but you're starting to learn how to track your macros. Say they're getting 5 meals in a day and they used to eat 3, say that's a positive. Now next week, let's try to push to 80%, rather than saying to them, you need to be at 100% every single week, because it's just not realistic and they're just going to walk out the door. So then when they hit that 80%, go, awesome, let's push it for 85. So you keep gradually just expecting a little bit more of them every week, and that'll push and motivate them, as well as keeping them compliant and accountable back to you. So they're the big things that I want you to work on this week. Just really thinking about, each individual client as an individual. That's how they should be treated. You're a personal trainer. You're not a group trainer. You're not, this sort of thing. This is what they're coming to you for. So it needs to be personalized. You need to be able to program. You need to be able to account for nutrition. You need to be able to feedback to your client and manage your clients also. Make sure that you're on top of things. This is probably one of the hardest things as a trainer as well that I've learned over the years. So I would say keep a good diary, keep good record of everything, and also get your clients to fill out things such as feedback forms to you, so that you know how to track it if you're not seeing them personally. So that's basically it on meal planning. I want you to have a go and have a practice at a few case studies. Do a meal plan template up for say yourself. Write an example person out as well, and then go from there. Good luck.